On May 3, 1715, renowned astronomer and mathematician Edmund Halley was in London for a rare event, a total solar eclipse. You see, 9 years earlier, in 1706, he had predicted this very event. His prediction came at a time when scientific understanding was in its infancy, and many people feared the coming eclipses. But Halley wrote, "They will see that there is nothing in it more than the natural, and no more than the necessary result of the motions of the sun and the moon." In anticipation for the coming eclipse, he also made this map to show the path of the moon's shadow, and, as the eclipse passed through Great Britain, Halley and the rest of London witnessed a totality lasting 3.5 minutes. Halley would go on to predict and witness the next solar eclipse in 1724, but he was far from the first to record these rare astronomical events. What Edmund Halley experienced in 1715 was a total solar eclipse, but there are multiple different kinds of solar eclipses. There are total, partial, hybrid, and annular. Total and partial solar eclipses are fairly self-explanatory, where the sun is either totally or partially obscured. Hybrid solar eclipses are relatively rare, and can appear as a total or an annular eclipse. Annular eclipses are named as such because firstly, they appear on Earth roughly every 1 or 2 years, and secondly, because when the sun and the moon are exactly in line with Earth, the apparent size of the moon is smaller than that of the sun, hence the sun appearing as a very bright ring, or annulus. Astronomical events like solar eclipses are one of the few things that can help historians pinpoint exact dates. The earliest recorded solar eclipse was found on a clay tablet in Urargit in modern-day Syria. The date for this eclipse has been narrowed down to 2 possible dates, May 3, 1375 BC, or March 5, 1223 BC, with scientists and historians generally agreeing it to be the latter. During the ancient Greek Empire in the early 6th century BC, there was supposedly a war raging between the Medes and the Lydinians in Anatolia, or modern-day Turkey. And according to Greek historian Herodotus, the battle was interrupted by day turning into night. So shocked were the warriors that each side agreed to end the 6-year-long war. During the Middle Ages, most people tried associating solar eclipses, or any big astronomical event, with major historical events. An example of this being the death of King Henry I of England. According to the Historia Novella, written between 1140 and 1143 by William of Malmesbury, the elements manifested their sorrow at this great man's last departure from England. For the sun on that day, at the 6th hour, shrouded his glorious face, as poets say, in hideous darkness, agitating the hearts of men by an eclipse. This eclipse was said to have taken place on August 2, 1133, and while there was an eclipse on this date that was visible in Scotland, King Henry I did not die until 1135. During the next few hundred years, many advancements in observing solar eclipses took place, like when Dutch mathematician and cartographer Gemma Frisius observed an eclipse on January 24, 1544, where totality only lasted 16 seconds. He would later go on to publish the first illustration of the camera obscura, a predecessor to the modern camera, to show a solar eclipse. During the 19th century, there were many scientific firsts and phenomena named, like when Spanish astronomer José Joaquín de Ferrer named the sun's outer atmosphere, which is only visible during totality, corona, which is Latin for crown. As mentioned in the beginning, Edmund Halley predicted and witnessed the eclipse in 1715, but while observing the eclipse, he noticed what he called points on the moon's limb. Over 120 years later, another astronomer named Francis Baily observed an eclipse in 1836, and like Edmund Halley and others before him, he noticed these points and named them Baily's beads. The next total solar eclipse of note took place on July 28, 1858, and is important for 2 reasons. First, it was the first eclipse where there was a so-called eclipse expedition, where multiple institutions could communicate on a near instantaneous basis thanks to the newly invented telegraph. And second, it was the first eclipse to be photographed. And with this one photograph, suddenly what was once feared and the subject of myth and superstition became a fascinating astronomical event. The next eclipse to travel across America is on April 8, 2024, which, if all goes according to plan, should be the day that this video is uploaded. Going further into the future after the 2024 eclipse, there is technically a total solar eclipse on March 30th, 2033, but the path of totality will only be visible in Nome and Barrow, Alaska. A much more accessible one will be on August 12th, 2045, where the path of totality will pass through major cities like Reno, Nevada, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Tampa, Orlando, and Miami, Florida. The total solar eclipses that we experience today are in fact temporary on a geological timescale. Over the course of 1 billion years or so, total solar eclipses will become impossible thanks to the moon getting further away from us at a rate of about 4 centimeters or 1.5 inches per year. After this point, only partial or annular eclipses will remain.